Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are jumping into a brand new explainer that tackles something honestly pretty fascinating. We're looking at the massive, unique moral weight placed on modern engineers. You know, the people who actually build the infrastructure of the world around us. But here's the catch. They aren't just building in the physical world anymore. They are literally architecting our digital reality too. This dual dilemma brings up some incredible ethical challenges that impact all of our lives every single day. So let's get right into it. Here is a super quick look at our agenda for today's explainer. We'll start with the general weight of engineering, explore the physical realm, and look at frameworks for the Earth. Then, we'll pivot to the digital dilemma, cover privacy and property, and wrap up with the dual responsibility. Okay, so the absolute crucial point here is that engineering is not just about crunching numbers or making sure a bridge doesn't fall down. It brings about these entirely unique ethical issues that you simply do not encounter in other professions. I mean, when you're designing systems, structures, and networks that society blindly relies on, the stakes are astronomically high. Today, we're really focusing on two massive theaters of impact where engineers hold the keys to our well-being, our physical environment, and the computer networks we use constantly. So let's start with the physical world in Section 1, the environmental imperative, protecting the biosphere. This really took off as a huge political issue in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Now, the core goal of the environmental movement has always been pretty straightforward: control the introduction of toxic, unnatural substances into our environment and protect the biosphere so we have a healthy world to live in. But what's super interesting is that for engineers, this isn't just some political preference or a weekend side project. The duty to find solutions to problems caused by modern tech and to actually use their skills to protect the Earth is spelled out directly in many of their professional codes of ethics. We formally defined this responsibility as sustainable design, or sometimes you'll hear it called green engineering. Simply put, it means incorporating ideas to ensure that new designs do not harm the environment. This is absolutely the core responsibility engineers have for sustaining our everyday quality of life while still maintaining the integrity of the natural world around us. To really wrap your head around sustainable design, you have to look at the entire life cycle of a product. It's like a giant puzzle. An engineer has to make sure a product has minimal environmental impact while we're actually using it. But it goes way beyond that. It has to be manufactured cleanly and eventually disposed of at the end of its life without trashing the planet. It is a massive cradle-to-grave responsibility. But before we get into the math of how engineers actually pull this off, let's pause for a second. I want to ask a really profound philosophical question. Do we belong to nature, or does nature belong to us? It's a question that makes pinning down environmental ethics incredibly tricky. For instance, if animals can feel pain just like we do, should they have moral standing? And if they do, where does it stop? Does that moral standing extend to trees, to rivers? And that question highlights a massive split in how we view the world. On one side, we have the Western ethical tradition, which generally argues that only humans have moral understanding. So in that view, plants and animals are really only important based on how useful they are to us. But on the flip side, the environmental movement argues that humans are just one component of the environment and that all components actually have equal standing. Which perfectly leads us into Section 2, Frameworks for the Earth, Valuing the Environment. Because let's be real, engineers can't just sit around philosophizing all day. They have to actually build things and solve concrete problems. To weigh these abstract environmental values, they generally use two primary frameworks, and it creates a lot of tension. The first is the cost-oblivious approach. This basically says cost doesn't matter at all. The only focus is making the environment as clean as humanly possible. Opposing that is the cost-benefit analysis, which comes from utilitarianism. This approach tries to strike an economically beneficial balance, weighing the actual financial cost of a solution against the real-world benefits of reducing pollution and improving human health. The problem, neither of these frameworks is a magic bullet. The cost-oblivious approach is almost impossible to enforce in a modern city, and getting everyone to agree on what as clean as possible even means is tough. But the cost-benefit approach has some major flaws, too. In those mathematical calculations, human lives are often treated as costless. Plus, it rarely takes fairness into account, like who is actually paying the financial cost versus who is actually getting the health benefits. So, what do you do when the math just doesn't give you a perfect answer? Ultimately, engineers have to fall back on their professional and personal ethics. Professional codes make it crystal clear: the safety of people and the environment is paramount. But personal ethics matter immensely here. The golden rule is that an engineer should never be compelled by a boss to work on a project they find ethically troubling, especially if it has severe environmental impacts. All right, let's shift gears entirely. That foundation perfectly sets up our next chapter. We are pivoting our explainer from the physical, biological world of dirt and water straight into the invisible, hyperfast world of digital networks. Welcome to Section 3, the digital dilemma, the dark side of efficiency. Here, the engineer is the designer, manager, and user of computers. It's kind of wild when you think about it. Most computer crime isn't exactly new. A lot of unethical computer use is just a digital extension of old-school crimes. I mean, a computer just lets someone steal money from a bank way more efficiently than walking in with a mask. And the terrifying part for engineers? The tech used to commit these crimes advances incredibly fast, while the tech needed to detect and prevent them severely lags behind. Moving right along to Section 4, Privacy and Property, the Invisible Assets. This is where computer ethics get extremely tangible for you and me. Let's lay down a definition first. Privacy is the basic right of an individual to control access to and use of information about themselves. So your personal info isn't just random data floating up in the cloud. It is literally your personal property, and you have a fundamental right to dictate exactly who gets to see it. Now, having everything digitized is a massive double-edged sword. Yes, it makes finding files super easy and saves a ton of physical storage space, but it simultaneously makes unauthorized access vastly easier, and the dangers of leaked info are no joke. If your private data gets out, it can directly lead to harassment or even blackmail. As we just established, it is quite literally the theft of your personal property. And obviously, this opens the door wide for hacking and computer abuse. Hacking takes a ton of forms: breaking into a database, planting fake info, altering records, or spreading viruses. But the really key takeaway here is this: just accessing private information violates your privacy rights entirely. Even if the hacker never shares the data and takes it to their grave, the unauthorized breach itself is the ethical violation. Then there's the whole intellectual property side of things. The internet has made it ridiculously easy to share copyrighted stuff like music, movies, and software. And because of the tech, finding the people doing it is incredibly hard. But it is still completely illegal and unethical. And why does this matter so much? Well, if creators can't profit from their work because it's just given away for free, the incentive to create simply vanishes. That ultimately harms the creative enrichment of our entire society. But wait, let's be real. Computer ethics isn't just a topic for cybersecurity experts hunting down hackers in a basement. This applies to the everyday tools engineers use. We're talking about basic word processing docs, financial spreadsheets, scheduling software, and commercial design plans. The ethical responsibility to protect data, respect privacy, and honor intellectual property is baked right into the daily mundane routine of the modern engineer. Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative question to ponder. As technology just keeps accelerating, both in how we manipulate the Earth and how we build out our digital landscapes, can our ethical frameworks possibly keep pace with the immense power we hold? The modern engineer carries this massive dual responsibility to safeguard both our physical biosphere and our invisible digital property. It's a heavy burden for sure, but absolutely vital for our future. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time.